All right, we've begun the second half of the broadcast. I'm going to give a few minutes for everyone to pick up on this next 15 minutes. Well, we're going to try to finish up our discussion of the reading for Module 3 and then move on to, I apologize, Module 4. And then we're going to move on to our discussion of the current assignments for Modules 3 and 4 and those who are currently completing field experience, and even going back to answering questions for those who've completed your field experience, but you don't, you're having some issues with where to upload things or have any questions like that. So I'm taking a look now in our today's meet, which is still open, and have the one question, it looks like, from Meredith that could not log in, waiting to see if that's to Moodle, but I do see that we have 3 viewers, so we're going to pick up where we left off. We finished talking about death and how it can affect the classroom and how that's important to make sure you know your students and cultivate a relationship of respect and good rapport with them, and show that concern and care. The substitute teacher handbook, this is going to segue us into our conversation. A lot of you have had questions about the live binder. The live binder is really a way for you to accumulate the things that you need that you would actually put if you wanted to put in a physical binder and or folder for teachers to make sure that they are aware of rules and regulations, procedures, consequences, reward system, your entire discipline discipline plan, or your classroom management plan, rather a better term for that, so that they're not walking in blind. Some of the things that they make sure that you should include is this, of course, the teacher should know what's being taught. They should know expectations for the students. They should know where students are supposed to sit. They should know what other types of schedules may affect your day, whether you have students pulled out to go to a resource room, students are pulled out for GT, students are pulled out for music, what day you have library. If you're having a big research project and you're supposed to be in the library or in the computer lab, you would need to know to run your classroom effectively. You should make sure that you let the substitute teacher know the same thing. All of that, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. I just want to see if there are any questions from anyone as far as anything that you wanted to talk more about that you thought, well, I don't even know what that is, and we haven't gone over it, so I wouldn't know how to have that ready for day 1. I have some just tips and hints too that I try to put, if time will allow, I will put into the teacher toolbox. There's lots of good stuff out there to help you think about those things, just to kind of prompt the brainstorming for you to think about the things that may need to be left. The one about parent volunteers, we don't have that happen as much anymore. A lot of parents are working not only one job, but maybe 2. Some schools really frown on it. They don't really like parents being involved during the school day, where they can kind of come behind the line and see what's going on and hear sometimes sensitive information about their student or maybe someone else's child. And so you don't find, like in the older days when you have lots of volunteers that come and help in the classroom, if you don't have a para or assistant teacher, a teacher assistant. But sometimes we have to be really inventive as far as how we involve parents. They don't necessarily have to be sitting in your classroom, but they might be able to go down to the workroom and run off copies and cut and paste and staple and do all that type of thing. Or they might have connections in the community where they can get you a great speaker to come in, or a wonderful field trip set up. Or they might be able to pack up snacks and send to you, perhaps because you have a lot of kids that perhaps don't get snacks at home after school, and then make a backpacks or something like that. There's always something you can find for your teachers, your parents to do to be involved in the school, even if they're not coming to school to volunteer. It's something that you should encourage, that they be involved. Sometimes we talk about low parent involvement, but we ask for parents to do things they can't really do based on their schedule, maybe based on their economic standing. There are things they really can't contribute, can't do. It could be their academic level. So we have to make sure that we have lots and lots of ways for parents to be involved, or grandparents, or whoever the student's guardian might be, to get them involved so that they can feel that they're a part and they know what's going on at the school. A lot of good ways that Dr. Wong suggests that you keep parents abreast as far as what's going on in the classroom. Parent-teacher conferences, or a few things that we wanted to talk about. The most important thing about parent-teacher conferences and back-to-school night, if you don't remember anything else, be overly prepared and have a positive outlook. No matter what you have to tell a parent, whether it's, I want to mention this at the open house, and they may not necessarily like this this procedure that I have, or I have to talk to the student's parents about them failing or a discipline issue. Start off, find whatever good you can and start off with that. Sometimes people call it a compliment sandwich. I don't like to be condescending to people. People know their kids before they send them to you. So you don't have to go in there and tell untruths. They know who they sent to you. So it's not like you're going to make up a child and you're describing someone they don't know. But it is important that you don't go in, he does this, he does that, he does this, he does that. I asked him this and he did this and he did that and he did this. Nobody wants to come into a meeting like that, and they're not going to have a positive outlook, and they will not respond to you well. You first have to think about, first of all, really, what do you really think that is something great about this kid? What is the silver lining? What is the thing that you can say, you know what, if we could work on this, he'd be awesome at that, or she'd be awesome at that, or this is the potential they have, and I'm afraid they're not going to reach it because of this. You've got to go in talking to a parent as if you want to be a partner and you want to assist that parent to help that kid turn out the best way they possibly can. That's the thing to remember anytime you talk to parents about anything. My kids aren't perfect, but I also don't think they're awful. And most parents are the same way. They know their kids aren't perfect, but they don't think they're awful. So just remember that. So that's kind of going over our readings and starting off with that. We had a couple issues in the Moodle, so I want to kind of get to that. I've responded to a few of you guys about those issues, and it had to do with the SLT forum. So we're going to take a look at that. I'm going to get there, and then I'll share my screen. I talked to Ms. Shayun Chu, that's over the computing center in the Moodle, and she helped me to fix what I think was just a faux pas. So we're going to take a look at that in module 3, where the SLTs are. We're going to talk a little bit about SLTs. First, I'm just going to answer questions instead of going over stuff. So here's the SLT. I'm still in, and here's the forum. I had not, even though I described what you need to do, I didn't enter it as a question. So it did not allow you to answer a question. Now it seems like 6 of you have figured it out. Wonderful. The thing about this is in the format of a Q&A, so you won't be able to see any other responses until you answer for yourself. It's kind of like asking kids to answer on their clickers, so they can't see if everybody else raised their hand and say yay or nay. So you give your own response, and then you'll be able to see everybody else's. Now that we have a question, you just simply click on my question and join the discussion, and you post your reply, and then you've done that. So 6 of you figured that out. I'm talking and didn't share my screen. No one said a word. Let's go back and get that right. Here we go. This is the SLT evaluation forum. So as I'd said before, I'll get you to it. Let me backtrack a little bit. Okay, in module 3, you come down here to the SLT evaluation forum. Once you do that, you'll see the examples for you to read and look through. And of course, like I said, you can go back and forth and look at the calculator, see if they calculated everything right, and look at what were all of the requirements for the SLT to be correct. And then you can click down to my question, and that was what was missing. So there's a question now. Once you click it, it's going to allow you to respond, just like it allowed, let's see, was that Randall? Nope, Andrew Harris was the last person to post a response. Once you post a response, as I said before, you'll be able to see your colleagues' responses. I'm going to check the CCM. Okay, there hasn't been a question posted. Taking a look just to make sure. It's still available. So if you're going into Module 4, right now we're looking at the Part 2 for CCM 3 and 4. And I'm not sure I said this at the beginning, but tonight CCM will count as double, so you'll get credit for both for attending this one. Once you click in, you'll see, of course, I hope you click that button so that you're watching me live. You'll see that you still got your today's meet here. So you can go ahead and do that, or click Google Plus if you have any questions. I've got the questions bar open. I don't see anything. Okay, the other question we had about was the live binders. Okay, so the deal was, when I explained this to you, she's like, you kind of got restriction crazy. Uh-oh.
Begin using Live Binder is sign up.
That's what should happen when you click on it.
Live Binder website page. Click sign up now, it's free. And you'll need to put in a username, your email address, choose a password.
So that's what should happen when you click on the Live Binder tutorial. It tells you how to start one. Let's see if there are any questions popping up yet. Nothing. Then, of course, you have to go through that because I did set it up so that it is a requirement and you're restricted. You cannot access the content until you've gone through the Live Binder tutorial, figured out what it is, how to start an account, how to create one. Okay, now this page, Professional Notebook Content Resources, these are the things that you will be able to click on and download so that you may upload them in your personal professional binder using Live Binders, or professional notebook, I'm sorry. There's a zip file full of good handouts for elementary people. There's also lots of different things you could use for any of the areas, whether it's elementary or secondary. There's an opportunity for you to go through and look at these examples of what you can include in the next step, which is, let's log on, going down here. The next step is actually looking at my example. Few people say when they click that, it doesn't take them to this page. This is exactly where it should take you. It's taking you to my account, and if you'll see right here, this shows you this is the example that you want to look at. Okay, I've got several binders in there, but this is the one that's a direct link to that binder. And then this is where you just go ahead and put in that code, Summer INST, and that's going to get you in. And that's what it looks like. Okay. Let's see. Yes, good looking out, Randall. They have updated some parts of the website from the tutorial. If you go back to the, well, I can't look at it. That tutorial is a little older. I've used it for the last 2 years, and they are constantly updating it. And the question about is Live Binder still due tomorrow? Everything is due by the 30th. And rather than, I think there were some things that were due tomorrow, but we ran into some snags. So everything is due by the 30th. And you still will be allowed to submit and get credit, full credit for that by the 30th. We're also working on my GA has been really hard at work helping with these camps. And I know we're a little bit behind on grading, but he and I are both working on that to make sure that you are where you stand right now, rather than having a lot of things that are out there and have not yet been graded. Okay, so this is back to where we were, and we're going to go back to the Moodle page. And then this, of course, is an assignment, and it's showing you, this is a place where you actually go in. And there's nothing for you to upload here. Of course, the only thing you have to do, looks like someone's already done it. I'm not in the right role. Let's see if I go to another role. This is what you see. So you could go in and add a submission. When you go to add a submission, the only thing that you need to do is then give me the link there. Use the same code, so I wouldn't have to figure out what it is. If you leave it so that it's public, then you don't have to worry about putting the code in, but most people don't want to. So you'll use Summer INST as well for Summer Institute. Okay, I don't see any other questions. Field experience. Does anybody have still questions about where or how to upload your documentation for your field experience that you completed last week? This is for those who did it last week. I'm going to wait on questions. I'll look in both places. I don't see questions here in the Google Plus. Also not seeing any yet in the today's meet. Important, and everyone is supposed to view this, so I surely hope those of you that are long distance hear this. If you are long distance, all of your observations, all of your co-teaching, if that's what you're gonna do on Wednesday, and your teaching has got to be done by this Thursday like everybody else, in order for you to receive credit. So if you did your teaching, but you have not done that 9 hours of observation, you need to do 9 hours of observation, and I need the documentation. If you don't provide documentation, it didn't happen. Those of you who are teaching long distance, I did a separate broadcast about that, a webinar. And so I gave you all the specifics. I've had one person already that did not contact me and give me time and date so that we could set up a Google Hangout on Air similar to this one. It has to be done live because no one that did it here locally had the opportunity to cut and paste and edit their work. They were observed live and they had to receive then the evaluation for that live teaching. So we are doing live teaching, whether it's here in the Monroe area, West Monroe area, or if you are at the tip, the southernmost part of Louisiana, it still must be live. So you have to provide the date and time for your solo teaching so that a Google Hangout on Air can be set up and there will be an evaluator sitting on the other end of the lesson. We are not taking videos. We are creating a video from the live broadcast so it can be reviewed, but it will be watched live. We're not asking you to use your phone or a video recorder to record and then send us video. We are getting our own video based on the Google Hangout on Air that we set up and conduct to see your live lesson. So I'm reiterating that one more time because there's no going back after Thursday. Just want to make sure you know that. We're trying to keep all things equal. And we don't, even though we're making sure that we're allowing you to stay at home and not have to incur the cost of traveling so far, you still have to follow the same prerequisites and requirements. Alyssa, how do we know which evaluator we need to email our lesson plans to? Let me give you a look. This page is in Moodle. So you're going to go to the BH STEM Logistics and it's under Secondary Field Experience. And I think I put that in Module 2. This also was available to you when you went to the camp. You should have gotten a printout. But what you'll do is look, Alyssa, you're the second week. So you'll look on that last page, I believe. And it will tell you who's evaluating you and you will send that email to them. So Alyssa, you're having Miss Redden to evaluate you. You'll send it to redden@ulm.edu and she will then correspond back with you. Up. Make sure you saw that. Okay. So I'm going back to see if you have any other questions out here. You're so welcome. If anyone else has questions about completed field experience or field experience for this week, this is the time to ask the question. All right, we're rounding to 5:30. I don't see any other questions either here in the today's meet or in the Google Plus. So we are going to log out. Thank you for your responses and have a good evening.